Hello and welcome to Polyglot Principles. My name is Modja and this is a channel where I help ambitious language learners to go from intermediate to advanced in a language by giving them a very deep and detailed understanding of the principles of your language learning. So if you're the sort of person who is ambitious, you're not happy with just being a beginner, you're not happy with just getting by in the language, but you really want to understand your target language, and at the moment you're at around intermediate level or above that, and you want to become advanced in your target language. If you're that sort of person, then this is the channel for you. And the way I help you to go from intermediate to advanced is by giving you a very deep and detailed understanding of the principles of language learning. I don't like to be shallow about things, I like to go really deep. So if you're the sort of person who really wants to understand how to learn a language, if you love depth and you're an ambitious guy, then this is the channel for you. Alright, so let's dig into the channel now. Sorry, a moment. Alright, so the title of today's video is, oh, by the way, if you have any questions about language learning, make sure to just send me an email. If you have a question, criticism, encouragement, whatever you have, I'm ready to listen to you. And my email is polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. So if you just go to the description of this video, you'll be able to see my email address, and you could send me any message about the video, feedback or suggestions, whatever. All right, so the question for today is, why am I stuck in the plateau? Why am I stuck in the plateau? That's what this video is about. Because if you're at the intermediate to advanced level, maybe you've noticed that you've reached a point where you're putting in a lot of effort, but you're not seeing much improvement. At the start of the language, you may have noticed that you used to put in effort and you'd see tremendous results. You were improving perhaps at a very rapid pace. But then you got to this point and you're just stuck in a plateau. You're putting in effort, you're thinking hard, you're trying to make things happen. You're watching a lot of series, but no improvement is happening. And you're wondering, well, why am I stuck in the plateau? Or why do people get stuck in the plateau? So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And as usual, I have and by the way, like when it comes to these videos, I usually provide very useful information up to the very end. So you want to make sure you stick through every minute of it, because it's going to be valuable to you. You never know what idea will be the key that will transform your language learning journey. So you don't want to miss out on any ideas. Now, as usual, I have a question for you, and here's the question. Why, in your opinion, why do people get stuck in the plateau? Please pause this video, go to the comment section below, and write down why you think people get stuck in a plateau. Write down what you think are the main reasons. And then return to this video and find out if your reasons for why people get stuck in the plateau agree with mine. It's going to be an interesting exercise. So pause the video and do that. Alright, now you're back. Welcome. So, let's go deep. Why do people get stuck in the plateau? This is a core of this channel, and the idea is this. There are principles for doing everything. Let's be a little more specific. Consider riding a bicycle. There are principles for riding a bicycle. One of them is how you hold the handlebars, right? The other principle is going to be about how you pedal. There are principles about how to shift your weight. If you shift your weight too far to the right, you're going to fall to the right. If you shift your weight too far to the left, you're going to fall to the left. There's all sorts of principles involved with riding a bike correctly. If you obey the principles of riding a bike, you will ride the bike. If you disobey the principles of language learning of riding a bike, well, you're going to crash. It's all about obedience to principles. You obey the principles, you succeed. You disobey the principles, then you fail. That's how it works with riding a bicycle and anything else. In particular, that's how it operates when it comes to learning a language. You're in the plateau because you've not figured out how to improve. You don't know the principles by which one can improve. You don't know the principles. Okay, actually, yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Just as there are principles for riding a bike, there are principles of language learning. The reason you're stuck in a plateau is because you're disobeying the principles of language learning. Now, there's only two reasons why you would disobey the principles of language learning. The first reason is, hey, you don't know what the principles are. So if you don't know what the principles are, that might be one reason why you're disobeying the principles of language learning. And the second reason is, you know what the principles are, but you're not obeying them. So both of those are problems, right? You know them, but you're not obeying, or you just don't know the principles, and that's why you're not obeying the principles. So these are really the only two reasons why you're stuck in a plateau, or why anyone would ever be stuck in a plateau. So let's go through each of them carefully to see what you can do. So let's look at the first alternative. Oh, and by the way, I usually, when it comes to these videos I make, like this video for example, every idea I'm covering here, I've written it down in great detail. So if you want to see in detail the ideas I'm discussing, then just go to the description of the video and you'll be able to see my notes on everything I discuss in this video, if you want to go deep into it. So we're saying the only two reasons why you're stuck in the plateau. Either you don't know the principles of language learning, or you know the principles but you're not obeying them. Okay, so let's suppose it's the first one. You just don't know the principles. What should you do then? Well, you've come to the right place. This is Polyglot Principles. And the entire channel is dedicated towards teaching you the principles of language learning. So one of the first things to do, if you want to make sure that you're aware of the principles that you need to obey in order to succeed in a language, in order to make sure that that happens for you, make sure to subscribe to this video. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, and make sure to like this video. Because every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African Time, I make videos that are designed specifically to help you learn and figure out what the principles of language learning are. Okay, and another thing you can do, I've made many videos on the topic, but there's two videos in particular that if you watch them will let you know what the most important language learning principles are, and will help you to figure out whether you're obeying them or not. And if you start obeying them, you start to notice immediate improvement in your target language. So here are the two videos that I really recommend for you. The first one is the 5 enemies of fluency. In this video I identified 5 things that are stopping you from becoming fluent in a language. 5 major mistakes. If you avoid these 5 major mistakes, you're going to start noticing improvement. So if you just go to the description of this video, there's a link to the 5 enemies of language learning. You click on that link, that will take you to this video. That will help you to figure out the 5 principles you can't break if you actually want to become fluent in your target language. And then another video that's really useful, that goes in depth into the principles, identifies them and explains them in detail, is another video I made called How to Quickly Learn a Language from Scratch. It's an updated version. Also go to the description below and click on the link. In this particular video I give an introduction to language learning and then I go deep into the principles. So check out those principles in these videos and find out which principles you're disobeying. For any principle that you're disobeying, if you start to obey it, you're going to notice improvement in your language learning. Language learning is actually a perfect science. It's so simple. Once you know how to improve, it's so simple to improve. But if you don't know how to improve, it's a headache. And I'm making it easy for you by giving you the principles. So all you gotta do is obey the principles and you're gonna improve. It's gonna be amazing to people how quickly and how well you're improving at the target language. How do I know this? Because I get compliments all the time about how efficient I am at language learning, how remarkable it is, how talented I am, and so on. I'm not talented, I'm not remarkable. All I do is I know the principles and I obey them. I'm helping you to know the principles, but the obedience to the principles part, that's in your hands. Okay. Now the next we'll talk about the first thing. If you don't know the principles, what you should do. Now here's the second one. What if you know the principles but are still not obeying them? What should you do? Well, there's one obvious thing you can do. Start obeying the principles. But let's say you're still not obeying the principles. Well, we need to figure out, well, why aren't you doing that? The first thing to ask yourself is, why am I not obeying? Why am I disobeying the principles? If you know why you're disobeying the principles, you can fix the problem. It's possible to know the principles and not obey them. So let's figure out why that would happen. Some of the reasons can be redeemed and others not so much. Let's go a little deeper into this. So If you know the principles but are not obeying them, well, that could be because you believe that you can disobey the principles of language learning and still improve. If this is your belief, then you're misguided. Misguided is a nice word. You're wrong. You see, if you don't follow the principles, there's no way you're going to improve. It's just this is not a smart way to think. And look, if you continue to maintain this belief, then you're always going to be stuck at the plateau. The other reason why you may know the principles but are disobeying them is because you think the principles are it's too hard to obey the principles. You have to put in the effort to know what the principles are, and then you gotta obey them and so on. It may appear to you to be too much work. But look, if you're really serious about language learning, you really don't have any option. You need to know the principles and obey them. Why? Because if you don't and you get stuck in a plateau for a long time, you're going to wind up wasting months or years of your time. Which is harder for you? Wasting time on useless activities, on useless language learning activities, or putting in some of the effort to figure out what the principles are so that you can save yourself a lot of time? Which is harder for you? The effort of learning the principles and proceeding efficiently, or the difficulty of wasting a lot of time? It's totally up to you. The other reason why you may know the principles but you're refusing to obey them is because you're not serious about language learning. So sometimes we do things that are not really in line with our goals. Maybe, it's possible to start learning a language because your friends are learning it. You're learning Spanish because, I don't know, your brother learned Spanish and you're always in competition with him. Reasons like this. So it could be that if you know the principles and you're not applying them, maybe it means that you're just not interested in learning your target language, or you're not even interested in language learning at all. If you discover that this is the reason, it's smart to quit. Quit, let go of language learning, let go of your target language and do something else. Your life is short. Your life is short and your life is precious. Why waste it on activities that are not interesting to you, on a language that doesn't matter to you? So finding out this information is actually useful for you. And the other reason why you don't know the principles, you know the principles but are disobeying them, is maybe not even an intentional thing. It's more like you start out obeying the principles, but after a while you forget them and you resort to your old ways. So a good example of this would be, one of the principles in order to ensure that you're always improving is you want to identify and correct your mistakes. So here's something that could happen. You know that principle. You've just heard it from Modja. You've heard that, hey, you need to know the principles. Okay, one of the principles is identify and correct your mistakes. Okay, great. You've just learned that from me. What do you do next? Well, you could decide to write some text in your target language and then send it to a native speaker to correct it for you, which is great. Maybe you do that for 4 to 5 days, and then eventually you get overwhelmed by other stuff and you wind up not writing and sending your writing to be corrected anymore. So you obeyed the principles for 5 days, which means you improved, and then you just forgot totally. Maybe you watched videos that were telling you all these cool methods that you can use, and you got lost in many methods and you wound up forgetting that you're not even applying the principles. If that's the case for you, that's fine. The thing to do is to periodically ask yourself, is my practice obeying the principles of language learning? Ask yourself that question as often as you can. Whenever you find that your practice is not obeying the principles of language learning, well, change it. Make sure that adapt your practice to obey the principles of language learning. Because if you do, you will improve. It will be like clockwork. That's actually the interesting thing. In our culture, we like to believe that things have to be hard. Studying has to be hard. Earning money has to be hard. Everything is hard. Working out in the gym has to be hard. But that's really not true. Things are hard only for people who don't understand how things work. I'll give you a perfect example. Imagine that you know how to drive a car. Is driving a car, that means you know the principles by which one drives a car. Is driving a car a stressful experience? Absolutely not. It's fun to drive a car, no problem. But if you take someone who doesn't know how to drive a car and you put them in there, for them it's going to be stressful. Everything is scary. The speed of the car is scary, the steering wheel is scary, and so on. The reason it's scary and it's hard for them and they're struggling so much is because they don't know how things work. Anybody who is struggling to do something doesn't know how it works. Learning a language, improving, does not have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It can be a fun experience if you know what the principles are and you obey the principles. Then your learning will progress smoothly. Have you ever seen people who do things smooth, who achieve great results smoothly? It's like they're not struggling, they're not stressed, yet they're making things happen. These people are obeying the principles. You could become one of those people. Or you could make language learning a struggle and always be stuck in the plateau. Alright, so we've gone a lot into detail. I hope this was valuable to you. If you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification, because I release videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Central African Time. The videos are designed to help you go from intermediate to advanced in your target language by giving you a very deep and detailed understanding of the principles of language learning. If you have any questions, any criticisms, any encouragement, whatever you want to say to me, please, my email address is polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. Just send an email to me and I'll be able to know what you think, and I'll be able to respond, maybe even giving you suggestions, if it's suggestions that you want. And remember also, for every single one of my videos, especially like for this video, I have made notes, written notes of everything I've said right now, in case you want to see it in written form. Sometimes I can't say everything by mouth, but if you read it, but I go into greater detail in writing. If you want to get the notes corresponding to this particular video, then just go to the description of the video and click on a link to access the notes. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye.